Now come to the next concept, next point. Factorization. Factorization of a quadratic polynomial. Factorization of a quadratic polynomial by using splitting the middle term method. By using the splitting the middle term method. We use splitting the middle term method to factorize a quadratic polynomial. Understood, my dear children? In the previous examples, we have taken a polynomial which is not a quadratic polynomial. It may be a cubic polynomial, it may be a biquadratic polynomial, or any polynomial of degree n greater than or equal to 4. Okay, my dear children, but here particularly we are going to factorize a quadratic polynomial. Okay, my dear children, here two cases arises. There are two cases in the case of quadratic polynomial. First one, monic quadratic polynomial. If a monic quadratic polynomial is given, how to factorize it? By the method of splitting the middle term. Okay, my dear children. Second case, a quadratic polynomial which is not monic. These two cases arises. In these two cases, how to factorize a quadratic polynomial? By using splitting the middle term method. We discuss it now. Are you ready to learn well, my dear children? Right. Now come to the case 1. Factorizing a quadratic polynomial. Case 1. What is this case 1? Factorizing a monic quadratic polynomial. Factorizing a monic quadratic polynomial. To understand this concept, let us take an example. Factorize x square minus 5x plus 6. How do you identify the quadratic polynomial is a monic polynomial or not? Just by observing the x square term. Before x square term, no number is there. Means here x square coefficient is 1. Understood this point, my dear children? Observe the x square term. Here x square term is this only. Then what is the coefficient of x square here? 1. Because before x square no number is given. It means coefficient of x square is 1. If the coefficient of x square is 1, then the quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. Understood this point, my dear children? To identify whether the given quadratic polynomial is a monic quadratic polynomial or not, we have to check the coefficient of x square. We have to identify, we have to find out the coefficient of x square. If the coefficient of x square is 1, then the quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. In this case, this quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial because here x square coefficient is 1. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Now we are going to factorize this monic quadratic polynomial. Okay, my dear children? Listen these steps very carefully, my dear children. Okay. By using the splitting the middle term method. Here we are using the splitting the middle term method. Previously I told you. The first one is factor theorem. We use that factor theorem for other polynomials, not for a quadratic polynomials. Here also we can use, if they gave number, then we can find out whether it is a factor of the quadratic polynomial or not. but here they don't give any number. So here we use splitting the middle term method to factorize a quadratic polynomial. This is a special case, monic quadratic polynomial. I told you clearly which quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. I repeat the point. If the coefficient of x square is 1, if the coefficient of x square is 1, then the quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. Come to the point. X square minus 5x plus 6. We had to write the quadratic polynomial in the standard form. Means first we write x square term, next x term, next last constant term. In this order we had to arrange the terms of the quadratic polynomial. Now what is the middle term here? Minus 5x. Now we are going to split this minus 5x into two terms. So to factorize, to split the middle term, we have to concentrate on the constant term. What is the sign of the constant term here? Positive. So write that as sign of the constant term. Sign of the constant term is here positive term. Now what is constant here? 6. So take here the number 6. Okay my dear children? Right. Now we have to write the factors of 6. We have to write this number 6 as a product of two numbers as many ways as possible we can write. Okay my dear children? So 6 can be written as 1 into 6 and 2 into 3. Only these are the possible ways to write the 6 as a product of two numbers. Understood this step my dear children? Now come to the sign. What is here sign? Plus. So we had to add these two factors. 1 plus 6. What will you get here? 7. But what is the middle term here? 5. So we should not use these two factors to split the middle term. Now take these two factors 2, 3. Sign is plus means addition. If your sign is minus, subtract. That is a trick here. That is a trick. So 2 plus 3. What will you get here? 5. So we can split 5 as 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2. In general, we write bigger number first and smaller number next. Okay, my children. So x square minus, here 5x is there. I am splitting the 5x as 3x plus 5x. Can we write it or not? 3x plus 2x. What will you get after simplifying these two terms? Again you get 5x only. So for our convenient, we are splitting the middle term as 3x plus 2x plus 6. I am writing the last term as it is. So here we write first term and the last term as it is, but we are splitting the middle term with the help of the factors of the constant. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Now here we use distributive property. X square minus into 3x minus 3x minus into plus. What will you get? Minus 2x plus 6. So understood this step, my dear children? Right. Finally we got here 4 terms. How many terms we got here? 4 terms. What is the first term? X square. What is the second term? Minus 3x. What is the third term? Minus 2x. What is the fourth term? 6. I wrote all these 4 terms one by one. Understood, my dear children? Now we write the factors of the first term. How can you write x square? X into x. Isn't it right or not? Yes. Now second term, minus 3x can be written as minus 3 into x. Okay, my dear children? Understood this one? Right. Now come to the third term, minus 2x. How can we write factors? Minus 2 into x. Minus 2x can be written as minus 2 into x. And finally, fourth term, 6 can be written as 2 into 3. 2 into 3. Now, from the first two terms, if you observe what is the common factor here, x. Here also x. So, we observe here first and second term, x is a common factor. So we can take it out, the common factor x outside, and it in the brackets. What is left here? X. We write it here x. And what is the number left here? Minus 3. X minus 3. And then close the brackets. Understood this point, my dear children? From the first two terms, we are taking out the common factor. We identified here x is a common factor. So we took out the common factor x from the first two terms. Then what are the terms left here? X. So we wrote x here and here minus 3. Understood this part, my dear children? Right. Similarly, from the third term and fourth term, if you observe, what is the common factor here? Here 2 is a common factor. So we take minus also. So minus 2. If you take minus 2 here, what will be left here? X. And if you take minus, here we get a minus because it is a positive. So minus 3. So from the second last two terms, third and fourth terms, we have taken out minus 2 common factor. Then in the brackets we get here x minus 3. This means here we got x minus 3. Here also we should get x minus 3. That is why we have taken out minus 2 here. Understood this point, my dear children? If you simplify this one by distributive property, we get again these two terms only, minus 2x minus 6 only. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Again, here finally we got only two terms. This is one term. X into x minus 3 is one term. Minus 2 into x minus 3 is the second term. Only two terms are there. Again, from these two terms, what do you find the common factor? X minus 3 is a common factor. So we can take it out. X minus 3. Within the brackets, what is the factor left here? X. And what is the factor left here? Minus 2. We close the brackets. So x minus 3 one factor and x minus 2 is another factor for the given quadratic polynomial. Understood these steps, my dear children? Right. To make this point very clear to you, I am taking another example to factorize a monic quadratic polynomial. Okay, my dear children? See another example. Factorize x square minus x minus 6. We have to factorize this monic quadratic polynomial. This is also a monic quadratic polynomial. How can you say this is a monic quadratic polynomial? We have to find out the coefficient of x square. If the coefficient of x square is 1, then the quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. If you observe this quadratic polynomial, x square coefficient is 1. Isn't it, my dear children, or not? Yes, x square coefficient is 1. That is why this quadratic polynomial is said to be a monic quadratic polynomial. In this case, how to use this method, splitting the middle term method. Okay, my dear children, I wrote a quadratic polynomial as to x square minus x minus 6. Okay, my dear children. Then listen these steps, my dear children, carefully. First, we have to concentrate on sign of the constant. What is the constant of here? 6. What is the sign of the constant number 6? Minus. So minus. This sign helps us to split the middle term. Okay, my dear children, remember. First step, we have to identify sign of the constant. That is here minus. Here 6 is a constant. The sign of 6 is minus. So I wrote here in the rough work. After that, take the constant without taking the sign. Ignore sign here. Only 6. Now we have to write the 6 as a product of two numbers as many ways as possible. So here only these two ways are possible. 1 into 6, 2 into 3. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Now come to middle term. After writing the constant term factors like this, come to the middle term. What is the coefficient of x here? Minus 1. Actually here minus 1. So ignore minus here 1. 1. Okay, my dear children? 1. Now what is the sign of constant here? Minus. In the previous example, there is a plus. So in that case, we added the two factors to get the middle term. Here, sign of the constant term is minus. Remember this point, my dear children. This is very important. So we have to subtract these two numbers. 6 minus 1, big number minus small number. Take the, in general, take the big number minus small number. 6 minus 1, what will you get here? 5. But what is here? Coefficient of x is 1. Ignore here minus. Here also ignore minus. So we are not getting here 1. Here big number minus small number. 3 minus 2. What will you get here? 1. Okay, we got here 1. It's coefficient of x. I said ignore the coefficient of, ignore the sign of the term x. Now we are splitting. After finding out which is suitable, we have identified here these two factors are suitable to split the middle term. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. So x square minus, I kept here minus sign as it is, big number minus a small number, 3x minus 2x. Understood, my dear children? Because minus sign, minus means I told you big number minus a small number. So 3x minus 2x. If you simplify these two terms, what will you get here? Again minus x only. Isn't it or not? That is why, for our convenient, we are splitting this middle term like this. 3x minus 2x minus 6. I wrote the last term as it is. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Now distributive property. We are using here distributive property. First and last terms we write as it is. X square minus into 3x minus 3x minus into minus. What will you get here? Plus 2x. Understood this term, my dear children? Right. Minus 6. Understood here? This step? Right. How many terms are there in this step? Total 4 terms. First term is x square. Second term is minus 3x. Third term is 2x. And the fourth term is minus 6. After getting the terms in this step, go to the rough work. First term, right here, first term, second term, third term, and the fourth term. I wrote the 4 terms here in the rough work. Now we write the factors of the first term. How can you write x square? X into x. Understood this step, my dear children? Right. Next, what is the second term? Minus 3x. How can you write minus 3 into x? Minus 3x can be written as minus 3 into x. Understood this step, my dear children? Right. What is the third term? Plus 2x. How can you write 2x? 2 into x. Understood this point, my dear children? Right. Next, fourth term is minus 6. How can you write the factors for this one? Minus 2 into 3. We don't write this one because 2 is there. So we should get here 2. That is why 2 into 3 only. Don't write 1 into 6. Understood this point, my dear children? Remember this one. Now, from the first two terms, if you observe, what is a common factor here? X. X is a common factor. We are taking this common factor out. X of, in the brackets, what are the terms left here? X. X here minus 3. X minus 3. Understood this part, my dear children? Right. Next, from the third term and fourth term, from third and fourth terms, we have to take it out common factor. What is common factor here? 2. 2 only. So plus 2. we have to take a common factor plus 2. Then if you take out this 2 common factor, what is left here? X. Here minus is also there. Remember this point, my dear children, minus 3. Understood this term also, my dear children? Right. So finally we got here two terms. X into x minus 3 is one term, plus 2 into x minus 3 is the second term. Again from these two terms, x minus 3 is a common factor. Here x minus 3 is there, here also x minus 3 is there. So we take it out, the common factor. Then what is left here? X. Here what is left here? Plus 2. So x minus 3 is one factor and x plus 2 is another factor for this monic quadratic polynomial. Understood, my dear children? Right.